My stepson once looked me dead in the eye and told me I wasn't his real dad and that I had no business telling him what to do. You're nothing to me. You don't matter, he said with a shrug like it didn't mean a thing. So when it came time to talk about college tuition, I told him flat out he should ask his real dad to foot the bill. I never imagined I'd be telling this story to anyone, but honestly, it's been weighing on me and I need to get it out. My name's Jason. I'm 41 years old and I run a high-end wine bar right in the heart of town. Built it from the ground up with my own two hands, and it's something I take a lot of pride in. That bar changed my life in more ways than one. It brought Erica into my world about 5 years ago, or at least, I thought it brought her into my life for the right reasons. She was a bookkeeper I hired to help manage the financial side of things. Smart as a whip, efficient, and she had this quiet grace about her that I found myself drawn to. She wasn't just sharp when it came to numbers. She carried this kind of warmth with her, a calm energy that made even those late nights spent going over ledgers feel less like work. At the start, we kept things purely professional. She was new on the team and I didn't want to cross any lines or make her uncomfortable. But as time passed, I started hanging around her office a bit more than I needed to, finding reasons to ask questions or check her reports just to be close. Eventually, I worked up the nerve and made the first move. One night, after we'd finished going over the books, I looked at her and said, "Hey, how about we grab dinner sometime?" She paused, gave me this curious little smile and asked, "Is that my boss talking, or the man behind the business?" "The man," I told her, plain and simple. That first dinner turned into another and then another. Before I even realized it, we were talking about plans for the future. It all felt like a dream. Erica was kind and present. Her son Logan had good manners and always spoke respectfully. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was finally part of the family I'd always hoped for. A year into our relationship, we tied the knot. Erica and Logan moved into my home and everything seemed to fall into place. I threw myself into the role of stepdad like it was my calling. Took Logan to ball games, helped him crank out school projects, made sure he had whatever he needed without even being asked. I paid for our vacations, bought him those trendy sneakers all the kids were into, and tried to give him the kind of upbringing I had only dreamed of. He still saw his dad now and then, which, I'll be honest, never sat well with me. From what I knew, Derek, his father, had a history of tearing up their old place in drunken fits, which is exactly why the courts took custody away from him in the first place. But Erica was adamant that Logan keep that bond alive, saying Derek had sobered up and was trying to be a better man. He's still his dad, she'd remind me whenever I raised concerns. Logan needs to feel like his father still cares. But the one time I met Derek at a school event, the man didn't look the least bit sober. There was something off, the way he kind of swayed even when he wasn't walking, how his eyes never fully locked onto anything. Still, I held my tongue. I figured, hey, maybe it wasn't my place to say anything. I was just the stepdad after all. Looking back now, I wish I'd trusted my gut. If only I'd realized that my need to be the perfect stepfather might have made me blind to what was really happening behind the scenes. But you know what they say, hindsight's 20/20ths. And as it turns out, the storm hadn't even started yet. Next thing I knew, Logan was turning 18. With both his birthday and graduation on the horizon, the kid was a ball of nerves, pacing around the house and stressing over every little thing. What if something goes wrong, he'd ask. What if no one shows up? What if it's a disaster? One night, seeing him wound up tight, I gave him a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Hey, I told him, we're gonna make this great. Actually, I've got an idea. Why don't we throw your party at the bar? I'll make sure we get the best section reserved just for you. His whole face lit up. He knew my wine bar had become one of the hottest spots in town, and I could tell he liked the idea of showing it off. Seriously? He asked, already whipping out his phone. Dude, my Instagram is gonna blow up. Everyone at school's gonna be so jealous. I threw myself into planning mode. I wanted this night to be perfect, something he'd remember for the rest of his life. I even took him out and bought him a sleek black designer suit that made him look like a young CEO. He looked sharp, like he belonged on the cover of some teen fashion magazine. I gave him a nod of approval. How many people are you thinking of inviting? I asked one night as we went over the details. He fidgeted with his phone and paused for a second. Around 30. Sounds good, I said. Mind sending me a guest list? Just want to make sure we've got enough food and space for everyone. I don't really have it written out yet, he said quickly. Just plan for 30. Okay? Looking back, I should have pressed for that list. But at the time, I was so caught up in trying to make everything perfect. The tables were set just right. The lights glowed with a warm golden hue. and the whole place felt like it had been made for the occasion. We turned the Upper West Wine Bar into the ideal party spot for an 18-year-old, classy, but still fun. We had mocktails on the menu, fancy finger foods, and Logan looked like $1,000,000 in that suit, laughing and posing with his friends. Erica's family was there, chatting with Logan's classmates, and everything seemed to be going smoothly. Then he showed up. I recognized Derek before he even spoke a word. He staggered in, unsteady on his feet, eyes glassy and unfocused. No question, he was drunk. "I'm here to wish my son a happy birthday," he bellowed, loud enough to grab everyone's attention. I was sitting right next to Logan when Derek made his way toward us, locking eyes with me like I'd personally wronged him. "Get up," he slurred, waving his hand like I was some waiter. "That's my seat. I'm his real father, not you." I kept my tone calm and steady. "There's plenty of open seats with the other guests. Why don't you join them?" "No," his voice sharpened, almost like a growl. "This is my seat. You need to get out of my way. Who do you think you are?" I turned to Erica, hoping, praying she'd step in and say something, do something to stop the situation from spiraling. But she just sat there, pale as a ghost, staring at her hands like they held the answers to some unspoken question. I let out a slow breath and braced myself. This was Logan's big night, and I wasn't about to let it fall apart. Not if I could help it. "Let me make this perfectly clear," I said, staring him down. "You've got two choices. Sit at the next table like everyone else, or have security show you the way out." His face twisted with rage. "Oh, listen to this guy," he spat, wobbling slightly as he leaned on the edge of the table for balance. "Mr. Fancy Pants Moneybags over here, acting like he owns the world. You think you can just buy everything, huh? Buy my kid, buy my family's love." People had started noticing. I could feel the eyes of my regulars nearby, pretending not to listen, but clearly hanging on every word. My staff stood close, hovering at the edges of the room, waiting for me to give them the go-ahead. Derek wasn't done. "You strut in here with your fancy wine bar, your big shiny house," he sneered, voice climbing higher with every word. "Think you can just take my place 'cause you've got a fat wallet? Newsflash, you can't buy family." And just like that, before anyone had time to react, he reached out and sent a plate of charcuterie flying to the ground. The sound of shattering glass sliced through the thick, stunned silence of the bar. Then came another crash and another. Meats and cheeses splattered everywhere, across the spotless marble floor. A bottle of imported sparkling water tipped and spilled across the polished bar top. I met eyes with my security team and gave the smallest nod. They didn't hesitate. They moved quickly and cleanly, just like they'd been trained to. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave," my head of security said firmly, gripping Derek's arm. I watched them lead him out as his drunken shouting turned into slurred, half-coherent yells that echoed through the room until the front door finally shut behind him. Then silence. A beat passed, and the hum of conversation slowly returned. I stood up, put on my best owner's smile, and addressed the guests. "Folks, I'm truly sorry for the disruption. Please, let's not let it ruin the evening. Drinks are on me tonight." The regulars, bless them, were used to the occasional scene. Within minutes, they were back to sipping and chatting like nothing had happened. But over at our tables, things weren't so easy. Logan's friends and our family sat stiff and uncomfortable. I could feel the buzz of whispers, see the glances darting between Logan, Erica, and me. I already knew it. By morning, the whole thing would be all over Instagram and Snapchat. Logan sat motionless, barely touching his food. The sleek black suit that had made him look so sharp earlier now seemed too big for him, like it was swallowing him up. His picture-perfect party had turned into a complete mess. About an hour later, he muttered under his breath, "I've got a headache. Can we just go home?" That was it, the end of the party. People offered polite goodbyes, but I could hear their whispers trailing behind them. "Poor kid. Did you see his dad? What a train wreck." As soon as we got home, Logan beelined it to his room. I followed Erica and her daughters upstairs, then circled back to Logan's room, hoping to say something, anything to make things better. The next morning, after the disaster of a birthday party, Logan came downstairs with dark circles under his eyes. He pulled out his chair and sat down, eyes glued to the floor. "How you feeling, buddy?" I asked gently. "Fine," he muttered into his cereal. That was it. One word. The days that followed were like living with ghosts. The kid who used to fill the house with energy and jokes had gone quiet. It felt like every time I walked into a room where he and Erica were talking, he'd clam up like someone hit mute. One evening after he went to bed, I brought it up with Erica. "Don't you think we should do something? Maybe get him to talk to someone." She just waved it off. "He's fine. He's just working through it. Give him space." But he wasn't fine. None of this was. Still, despite the tension in the air, we went to Logan's graduation. Erica and I sat in the audience. I clapped so hard when they called his name I thought my palms might bruise. He looked good in his cap and gown, and for just a second, when he glanced our way and smiled, I let myself believe things might be getting back to normal. Maybe. We threw him a party at the house later. I made sure to include all his favorite things: truffle fries, those mini steak sliders he liked, and the crab cakes he used to sneak from the kitchen at the bar. Even ordered a ridiculous 3-tiered chocolate cake that took a whole team to get right. His classmates showed up, and for a while, the house was full of laughter and chatter about college plans and summer trips. For a few hours, it felt like we'd found our way back to something good. Logan was smiling again, laughing, talking like his old self. I actually let myself relax. Then his phone rang. He stepped into the hallway to answer it, and when he came back, something in his face had changed. There was this quiet determination in his eyes. He walked straight over to me. First time in days he looked me in the face. "My dad's coming over," he said. "He wants to congratulate me." My heart sank. "Absolutely not," I said, no hesitation at all. The memory of the birthday night still raw in my mind. "Logan, think about what happened. He showed up drunk, made a scene, destroyed property." "That was your fault," he snapped, cutting me off. His voice rising now. "None of that would have happened if you just moved and let him sit. He's my real dad. You should have stepped aside." I stood there, stunned, like I'd just taken a punch to the gut. After everything, after all the silence, this is what he thought? That I was the villain? I turned to Erica, practically begging her with my eyes. Hoping just this once she'd back me up. Step up and be the mom Logan needed her to be. "Erica, please," I said. "Tell him how out of line his dad was. Tell him the truth about what happened." But there she was again, staring down at her hands like maybe they held the answers. Saying nothing. That same frozen silence from the night at the bar. Something inside me cracked wide open. 5 years of trying to be the perfect stepdad. 5 years of walking on eggshells. Of biting my tongue, making excuses, swallowing my frustration. And I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Logan," I said, my voice calm but steady, "that was my wine bar. I threw that party for you. I bought you the designer suit you wanted so badly. I did everything I could to make it special. And your dad." I shook my head. "He showed up drunk, embarrassed you in front of everyone, and caused damage we'll have to pay for. He didn't even bring you a gift, Logan. All he brought was chaos." Logan's expression shifted so fast it nearly knocked the wind out of me. His face twisted from frustrated to full-blown fury in a heartbeat. "Oh my God, here we go again," he shouted, throwing his arms in the air. "It's always about the money with you. I paid for this, I bought that, like just because you paid for something, you think you can control everything." He spun around toward his classmates, who were still in the living room, standing there awkwardly like they'd walked in on something they weren't supposed to see, wishing they were anywhere else in the world. "My real dad's gonna be here any minute," Logan said with a bitter chuckle like it was the punchline to some private joke. "It'll be nice to finally have a normal person around instead of this." He waved in my direction like I was something he'd scraped off the bottom of his shoe. I tried to keep my voice steady, fighting back the anger bubbling up. "Your father's not stepping foot into this house," I said, calm but firm. "Not after the way he acted at the bar." That's when Logan completely lost it. His face turned bright red, and right there, in front of all his friends, he exploded. "You're not my dad," he screamed. "You're nothing. Just some nobody pretending to be important. Who do you think you are, trying to boss me around?" His voice cracked with fury. "Stay out of my life. You're just the guy my mom married because he had money." The room went still. Not a sound. You could have heard a pin drop. His friends all looked anywhere but at me. Some checked their phones, others suddenly found the ceiling fascinating. Logan turned back to them with a venomous look. "Let's get out of here. I don't want to celebrate in his house anyway." The way he said his, like it was dirty. His friends didn't argue. They all filed out quickly, not a single one meeting my eyes. The front door slammed hard enough to make the windows rattle. I stood there, alone, surrounded by cold food and shattered plates, feeling like I'd just been hit by a freight train. That had to be the moment. After all that, Erica would have to say something. She had to stand up for me now, right? But instead, she cleared her throat and spoke with this cold detachment I'd never heard from her before. You had no right to throw the house and the money in his face, she said flatly. You didn't need to remind him that this is your house or that your money pays for everything. That was out of line. I just stared at her like I was seeing her for the very first time. You're kidding, right? I asked. Where were you when your ex-husband was trashing my wine bar? Where were you just now when your son stood up in front of everyone and humiliated me? Erica shook her head like I was the one who'd lost it. You're the adult, she snapped. You should know better than to argue with a teenager. I let out a dry, humorless laugh. And you should know better than to keep your head buried in the sand like a coward, I fired back. But that's what you do, isn't it? You sit there, stone silent, while your son and your ex treat me like dirt. Well, guess what? I'm done. I'm done being everybody's punching bag. Her face hardened, but she didn't say a word. Instead, she turned around and walked upstairs. A few minutes later, I heard the door to the guest room slam shut. The next morning felt like waking up at a funeral. Erica sat across from me at the table, absent-mindedly pushing scrambled eggs around her plate. No eye contact, not a word. I was just about to excuse myself when Logan stumbled into the kitchen, still wearing his wrinkled party clothes from the night before. The stench of booze hit me halfway across the room. I glanced at Erica, waiting for something, anything. Some kind of comment about her teenage son coming home reeking of alcohol at 9 in the morning. Nothing. Not a word. Just the same blank stare at her plate. Where were you all night? I asked, keeping my voice as neutral as I could. Logan glared at me, his bloodshot eyes full of hate. None of your business, he sneered. You're not my dad. You're nobody. Just a useless extra in this house. Then he turned and staggered back upstairs without another word. Erica? Still silent. By that point, I started wondering if silence was her favorite party trick. The week that followed was like living in a haunted house, except instead of ghosts, I had Logan. He refused to speak to me directly. Instead, he treated me like I was invisible. Dad, he'd say to Erica while pointing straight at me. Can you ask your husband to pass the salt? Or he'd walk into a room, look right at me, and say, this guy's in my way, and then just stand there until I moved. I never said a word. I just watched. 5 years. 5 years of trying to be the best stepdad I could be, and now I was just background noise. Let them show me who they really were. And oh boy, did they ever. That Sunday, Erica and I were having another one of our silent dinners when Logan burst in, waving an envelope around like he'd just won the lottery. Dad! I got in, he shouted, practically bouncing. NYU accepted me. I got into my dream school. I watched him wrap Erica up in a hug, both of them glowing with joy. And then, right on cue, Logan turned to her with a smirk that could cut glass. Tell your husband he needs to pay for my tuition. Something inside me just snapped. I smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile that came from happiness. It was cold. I see. I won't be paying for your college education, I said clearly. You've made it crystal clear I'm not your father. I'm just nobody, remember? Well, guess what? Nobody's done. My wallet's closed. Maybe your real dad can write the check. Logan's face turned bright red, his whole body shaking. His eyes welled up, but I didn't feel a damn thing. You vindictive piece of, he sputtered, voice trembling. You're just doing this to get back at me. You're cruel. You're evil. I stood there, weirdly calm, while he threw everything he had at me. It felt like watching a thunderstorm from behind a window, loud, wild, and completely out of control, but it couldn't touch me anymore. Mom, he cried, spinning toward Erica. Make him pay. He has to pay. Erica cleared her throat and slipped into that condescending tone I'd grown to loathe. Come on, honey, she said to me, smiling like this was all some big joke. Quit messing around. You know you're going to pay for Logan's college. I pushed my chair back and stood. No, I said. You and your ex can figure out how to pay for NYU. Then I walked out of the dining room. Logan's screams chased me up the stairs. I could hear things crashing, plates, chairs, and those dramatic sobs that were probably meant to pull at someone's heartstrings. Not mine. Like father, like son, I thought grimly. I sat on the edge of my bed, listening as the chaos downstairs slowly faded out. But I knew it wasn't done. Erica would be up soon, ready for round 2. Sure enough, 30 minutes later, the bedroom door flew open. She stormed in, red-faced and fuming. I'm sick of this, she shouted. Sick of you and your childish games. You need to grow up and pay for Logan's tuition. I stayed where I was, calm as ever. No, I said. You and your ex can figure it out. It's your kid. Your mess. Your bill. I'm sure between the two of you, you'll figure something out, I said coolly. Erica's jaw clenched tight. She started pacing back and forth like a cornered animal, coiled up and ready to lash out. You're being unbelievably selfish, she snapped. He's just a kid. For God's sake, you're the adult here. You need to be the bigger person. That phrase. I'd heard it too many times. Be the bigger person, Jason. Just let it go, Jason. He's only a kid, Jason. Always giving them a pass. Always expecting me to smile, nod, and open my wallet while they spit in my face. I let out a slow breath, steadying myself. He's not a child anymore, I said quietly. He's old enough to know the difference between right and wrong. And he's made it loud and clear how he feels about me. So tell me, why should I invest a single dime into his future when all he's shown me is disrespect and hate? Erica stopped pacing and turned to face me, her eyes colder than I'd ever seen. Fine, she said, her voice like ice. Then let me make it simple. Either you pay for Logan's college or I'm filing for divorce. She stood there, confident, like she fully expected me to break. To beg. To cave and sign a check. After all, that's what the better man would do, right? I gave her a shrug. Okay, I said. Get divorced. Her face? You should have seen it. Absolute disbelief. Her mouth opened and closed a couple times, but no words came out. I don't think she ever expected me to call her bluff. I'll get in touch with my lawyer first thing in the morning, I told her, my tone flat. In the meantime, you and Logan should probably start looking for a new place to stay. She didn't say a word. Just stood there, really looking at me, maybe for the first time in our marriage. Then she turned and quietly walked out, closing the door behind her. The next morning, I came down to find Logan already sitting at the table like he was lying in wait. The scene was staged perfectly. Logan with his puffy red eyes. Erica wearing that fake look of calm concern like she just stepped out of a family drama commercial. Sweetheart, Erica said with a sugary smile I suddenly realized I'd seen 100 times but never really understood. We've all had a night to think and cool off. Logan nodded so hard it looked rehearsed. We overreacted yesterday, he said in a syrupy tone. All of us. I stood in the doorway watching them with a kind of clarity I'd never had before. It was like a fog had finally lifted and I was seeing them for who they really were. Erica kept at it, her voice switching to that smooth, persuasive tone she used whenever she wanted something. We're family. Families fight, but they work it out. And since you escalated things over the college situation, it would really mean a lot if you took the first step toward making things right. Logan chimed in right on cue. Yeah, and if you paid for tuition, it would show you're sorry and that you actually care. I almost laughed. Really? The performance was so shameless it was almost impressive. Did they really think I'd fall for this? That some fake remorse and lines about family would undo everything? Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, I already spoke with my lawyer. Papers should be ready this afternoon. Their faces dropped like a curtain falling at the end of a bad play. Logan's smile vanished like it had never been there. Erica's cheeks flushed that familiar furious red. I turned to Logan and said flatly, congratulations. You won't have to worry about your not dad being part of your life anymore. That's what you wanted, right? That time, the tears were real. Logan broke down crying, no theatrics, just raw emotion. But I felt nothing. I was done letting teenage guilt trips twist me in knots. Erica jumped up so fast her chair nearly flipped backward. Without a word, she bolted upstairs. I heard the drawers being yanked open, the closet doors slamming. They packed in silence. No more lectures. No more crocodile tears. Just the cold, efficient sound of zippers and doors slamming shut. And for a moment, I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. That night, the messages started. First from Erica, we all said things we didn't mean. Can we please just sit down and talk like adults? Then from Logan, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. But come on, you're being totally unfair about college. When I didn't reply, the tone changed. You're being difficult. You're tearing this family apart. Hope the money keeps you warm when you're old and alone. I said nothing. The divorce went quickly thanks to the prenup I had insisted on before we married. Erica tried to contest it, of course. But my lawyer shut that down fast. She walked away with nothing. Not a cent from the wine bar. Not a dollar from my savings. Every now and then I hear about them through mutual friends. They're living in a cramped apartment on the other side of town. Logan couldn't afford NYU, so now he's working retail at the mall. Erica's trying to rebuild her accounting career, but from what I hear, it's not going well. As for me, I redecorated the house. Tossed out anything that reminded me of them. New furniture, fresh paint, a clean start. The house feels bigger now. Brighter. Or maybe it's just me finally free from the crushing weight of trying to buy love from people who were never selling it in the first place.